bring this meeting to order at 6:31. We'll stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members are present. The council meeting minutes of May 6, 2019. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the council meeting minutes of May 6th.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Financial reports?
Make a motion we accept the financial reports.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Report on standing committees and departments.
The Historical Society is having a garage sale on the 15th on Elm Street, right beside the school. If you have anything that you want to donate for their cause, it's to get them a little bit of cash. The library, the last meeting that we had, we worked on our float for the parade, and we won best float. And the rec department, the youth league is ending, I think, next week or the week after, and then the adult softball league will be starting.
There was no code enforcement.
Okay. I did the school board meeting. There are several individuals that placed in the Maine History Day in Orono, which is pretty awesome. And one of those students, Abby Ayers, her NHD exhibit is being displayed at the Smithsonian. And she's representing the state of Maine at the National Museum of American History Exhibit Showcase in Washington, D.C. on June 12th, if anyone's in the area. Let me see. The graduation requirements, they're changing the grading system. They're in the process of working on that, so stay tuned on seeing a new type of grade for the high school students. Sherry Shagnon is retiring, so if anyone sees her, she's done a lot of years and people really love her. So there's a lot of other teachers that are retiring, and I'm sure they'll be adding soon. There's 1,758 students, so that just fluctuates a little bit. And then they had a resignation of Shirley Jackson in Minot. They're working on some technology stuff, and that's about it. They did some policy changes, which you have to really be on the school board and understand the policy changes. So that's it for the school board.
What committee am I representing? Development. They had a long meeting. It might have been 15 minutes. They read the minutes and that's about it.
So no new loans. I'm not sure that there are a lot of people, and you were gonna work with them on that, correct? The town of Mechanic Falls has money to loan if you wanna do a business, but most people don't know that, so that's something Zach is supposed to be helping with the Development Commission. I think that's it.
We do,
So,
if
go
I
ahead.
can jump in now, we do have, the next meeting on the 17th is the organizational, so we'll be revisiting the liaison positions. So based on schedules and who's sitting at the table and who wants to go where. And I know that Councilor Bennett may not be available for the next meeting.
I won't be available for the next meeting on the
So
On
17th.
the 17th?
Yeah, I have another meeting.
I can catch up with him, get his interest on liaison positions where he may be interested in sitting as well to make sure he's got info when we meet again. But so you know, if you think about it before we sit down in 2 weeks, you can look to cycle chairs around if you wanna pick a different committee group to sit with.
We have no public hearings.
No, wait,
Oh.
excuse me. There's one thing I would like to bring up.
Yep.
Our code enforcement officer is licensed to do residential permit, electrical permits only.
Mhm.
So any commercial permit that is taken out has to go through the state, and they get the fee. What I would like to see is, I don't mean change cred, but we ought to be able to find an electrician, a retired maybe, or whatever, that would do the commercial permit. Because we're going to have a lot of commercial buildings coming up, and it seems rather sad to let the state have all the money.
You're 100% sure that the state gets the money?
I am, because I've done 2 jobs that were commercial jobs last year. The state got the permit, they got the fee, the whole thing.
Because I asked him about that.
You asked who?
Fred, he said the guy from Naples comes over and inspects
Right.
and doesn't take the money.
Well, you don't have to pay the money. You have to send it to the state before you can get your permit.
That's what I was digging into it a little bit today with Lisa as well, because we don't have records of us collecting a fee and forwarding it to the state like we do with plumbing permits.
Yeah.
But we're also mentioning that, I believe you said that people were actually, on one of the ones you were working on, people were writing permits, permit fees directly to the state, as well as coming to
Well,
write
if-
out plumbing and building fees.
And if you live in a town that doesn't have a code enforcement officer, and you want to build a new house, you send the state $50. And, well, I think that was the permit fee. I'm not sure if that's the
Yeah.
same thing. But they don't inspect anything, a single residence, a single family
So-
residence. So
so-
they take your money and,
Yep. So you're saying that when Hannaford took their permits out, we did not give them an electrical
nope,
permit?
nope.
I'd have to
You
double
sure of
check.
that? You sure of that?
I'd have to double check
I'm
on our
positive
side.
of it.
But I know what we're
Fred
doing.
cannot inspect a commercial job.
I didn't say he couldn't. I know he
And,
can't
and,
inspect.
and what happens is the electrician, will come to see Fred. If they don't know that we don't have, an electrical inspector, and then he tells them that they have to get the permit from the state. Because you have to have a license in order to do a commercial building.
Then I'm confused because Fred calls the guy to come inspect a commercial
Well, you know,
job.
eventually, yeah, but when I was doing the Sugar Shack, I called the inspector and told him when the job was ready for inspection. And Fred has contacted him to get him to sign off, and I'm not sure that they ever signed off.
Hmm.
Because I saw him there twice, and that was it.
Getting on there, and that's the other, they don't make it sound like it's a bigger issue, but there's a few inspectors running commercial for the state, so I know that specific gentleman has been waiting to get his final inspection re-inspected, but he's not on high on their priority list. So we're essentially waiting for the state agents to come down and complete the process. So we can look at that, and that's where we were talking earlier about bringing this up now, and if you want me to look at it, tying that into our annual appointments again at the next meeting, maybe a time to look at it.
We have Wayne Mackey in town, and he at one point was my alternate when I was inspector. So I don't know how he feels about it, but
I can get a full breakdown if you'd like of what we're doing for fees, where it's going, what the process is, all that for you before. That'll work.
Hello?
so I'm open. I brought it up, and
Okay.
that's all I wanted. I think we should do something, but if we do, good. If we don't, sign out.
Okay. Comments from the public? Donnie?
Yeah, Donald Boyd, 427 South Main Street. I'm here to talk about the garage at 435 South Main Street, Mr. Killen. In May of '97, he went in front of the planning board with a garage request. He got denied. In June 23 of '97, the appeals board denied him. And there's a garage going on there, and I'd like the town to enforce their rules. 7/11/18, he got a letter from code enforcement. When I come down to complain, I always come with pictures. And he got a letter that he may be in violation. Well, I think he was in violation. Oh, I might mention too, those two meetings, notes were taken and recorder was playing in both meetings. He was not to have towing any vehicles onto the property and dropping them. This last month, Sunday, 5/12 at 1:39 p.m., unloaded the red car and it drove off. The following Sunday, 5/19 at 3:20, unloaded the gray car with roof racks and it drove off. He brings cars in, tankers on them. For instance, the Ford truck showed up 4/19 with a snowplow on it. 5/16, it's out front for sale. He has a Main State used car deal plate at 435 South Main Street. Google Map on your smartphone, you look up, and it says 435 South Main Street Garage. On the internet, I've got the papers here, he's on the internet, 435 South Main Street Garage. And in the past, he's had a state inspection plate nailed to the garage, that was taken down. Then he had a fluorescent sign, 24-hour towing, that was taken down. And you just don't have any regard for the rules and regulations. And at the 97 meeting, his deed right here, it's a 5-lot subdivision that got accepted by the town council in 1972, Robert W. Milton's 5-lot plan with the covenants got accepted by the town of Mechanic Falls. No poultry, no livestock, no business of any type. And he has a sign up there, eggs for sale, and has poultry. He just don't go by the rules and regulations. And I'd like the town to enforce the rules. We spent a lot of time at the planning board and the appeals board. They had legal counsel, I had legal counsel. It costs a lot of money, a lot of time and effort, and nothing seemed to be being done. This is going on 22 years now. You know, a little bit now, a little bit later. You know, where's it gonna end?
I'm Mike Gillinan. I think a lot of things there Mr. Boyd's saying isn't correct. For starters, yeah, I do have some laying hens. But what's the difference if I got 7 laying hens and he had all those Mongolian geese and 80 some odd rabbits? Now don't tell me you didn't have the rabbits and all the time of the you know, I can go on and on and on, you know, and 2 wrongs don't make a right.
We don't have a dealer plate.
You know, I don't have a dealer plate. I can go over to the Willows and buy the sign that I had, and it could say Budweiser. Well, just because it says Budweiser, does it mean I'm working for Anheuser-Busch? You know, think about a lot of these things you're saying. It's not making any sense whatsoever.
The truck with the.
The
plow.
truck I had with the plow on it, I was pushing dirt over out back that the town hauled over. Bill the Poon hauled over to me. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I had a camper in my yard I stored. Is there anything wrong with having a camper? If I want to stick something out in front of my house for sale, I mean, come on, I pay taxes just like you do. You don't pay my wage. The town sure in the heck don't want to.
You threw out, I can speak again. I did have rabbits, and I did have a pet duck, and I got 11.5 acres out back of my house that has no coverings on it. That's where the shed is, that's where they were, and that's where they were kept. Once in a while, the duck did come up on my lot, but I mean, the 11.5 acres, the building's still there, it hasn't moved. That's where they live.
Yeah, but they
I've
weren't
got
on the
pictures of
11 acres.
record business going on, unloading vehicles on that. And if you listen to the tape of those meetings 22 years ago, you cannot do that.
Some of the vehicles we unloaded were ours.
I got titles to everything set, and if you'd like to see them.
There really isn't anything town council can do. I think Fred has researched this. The only thing he could do is sit outside Mike's property to see how many and whether they're
I
registered.
think
And
Kathy,
I understand what you're saying, but Fred would have to go over and watch him, and Fred's not gonna do that.
the planning board and the appeals board said, no, you cannot do that. I have pictures, I can show you right now, of these two vehicles this past month. I got plenty of others, but this past month, I can show you those two vehicles being unloaded in the dooryard.
I know, I got a picture of you taking a picture of me.
Kathy, what is going on between these two is a civil
Please
matter.
identify yourself, please.
Paula Stotts, current chair of the planning board. What's currently going on between these two is a civil matter that the town has nothing to do with. The town cannot enforce a covenant in a deed. And that's what he's talking about. Mr. Boyd is talking about a covenant in a deed, which is not enforceable by the town because it's a legal document that's between the seller and the purchaser. If our ordinances allow up in that area, which it's rural, for animals, we can't enforce or tell them no based on a covenant and a deed. That's where they have to take it to civil court.
I understand the coverage, the town does not get in the coverage, I understand that. The town of Mechanic Falls denied him a permit to run a garage, and he's running a garage, he's advertising the garage on the internet. I got the picture right here off the
You're all
computer.
wrong. That is not, that
That's
internet
not
is
us
not
on the internet.
active. That's a Google thing that was put on.
You're on Google.
You
Does
can't
that
even-
mean you're advertising a
That's right.
business?
You can't even go on site, then show me it. I can look at your place and do the same thing.
We've had, and we've spoken before as well, that I think it is a civil matter when it comes to the deed. When it comes to the garage being denied by the planning board, it's an enforceable offense. And from what we've seen, and going back to the records that I've forwarded to you, we've enforced it to make sure that there's no garage operation. The difficulty that we're looking at is an individual is allowed to bring their work truck home, park it there. So it's that when we drive by 23 hours a day, it's compliant. So it's that 1 hour that we may not see something.
How
or
about
there's a
if I've got pictures of those vehicles being unloaded and driven off?
We can bring you the titles.
What if we have a camera, like a video? I mean,
I'm
just
not
leave
sure
it
about the
sitting right there
evidence side of
facing
it
their
and if that'll
house.
hold up if we move it forward, but the other,
But I don't think that's legal to put a camera and leave it there.
Yeah, that's
What I'm-
invasion
what
of
I'm-
privacy.
Right.
What I'm getting at is, we spent time down here with the planning board, the appeals board, hiring lawyers, and it was no, you can't do that. And he's doing it. And I think the town ought to take action.
with the garage, because he's not operating a garage, he's not using his garage for working on, that we can see, it looks residential when we go by. And again, based on the planning board, what he could do is operate and actually get permitted for a towing company out of there, and he could run a towing company out of that address based on the zoning that we have there, because there's no square footage cap on that. So he could operate that out of there if he did choose to actually apply for a towing business, but not a garage business. And that would be something that would be even harder for us to really try and manage the usage side of it. The most we can operate, and the most that Fred can operate on, is the maximum unregistered vehicles allowed on property, which borderlines on the junk side, which I believe is 6 off the top of my head.
So what, I'm confused because I thought if you wanted a business, you come down and apply for a permit, and they say you can't have a business, you can't have unloading cars in your dooryard, it's on tape, you got denied, and he's doing it.
Did the ordinance change? Because he's talking about
97.
That's
97.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
22
So
years.
did the ordinance change that in his area, a towing business is allowed now? Do
I
you
don't
think?
believe that it has changed, but there was a business approved at that address by the same planning board 5 years earlier. So it's not an anti-business thing,
Right.
it was denied based on a maximum square footage. A garage would take up more than 25% of the home square footage, and that would exceed what you could consider. a
So is that what he
home.
was denied for? 97 was
He was denied a garage.
Main Street garage?
Right.
Yes.
But he could have applied for, or could apply for Main Street towing?
Towing.
Yes, Dana said that back when he was town manager, Wayne. You know, in fact, is when John Hawley was in here, there was such a ruckus about this, that John himself, and you could contact him, John says, Mike, he says, I'm so tired of, and I will say it, Mr. Boyd coming in and hopping, that he says, I'll give you permission, Mike, to park your cars, whether they're wrecked or not, at the town office. No, that's exactly what John said, and John would say it.
Yeah.
Well, that ain't gonna happen now.
No, I know it's not gonna win, but I'm just telling you what happened.
Yeah.
I'm just confused that the town, you can apply for a business, if the town denies you, the hell with you, I'm gonna have one anyway, and you can't do nothing about it?
We don't have a business.
We don't have a business. Yes, you do.
They're all our cars, I can show you the titles, what's
No, the
wrong with
point,
towing
Tony,
in our
is
own?
we as the town cannot prove
Yeah.
that. The only way we could prove that is by sitting over there and watching everything he
So I
does.
guess what I'm gonna have to do is hire another lawyer to get him on all the covenants on the deed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether he is. I mean, when I drive by, there's some cars there, but lots of people work on their cars in their
Well, there's always
garage.
one for sale.
And I do have friends, I have people that stop, I mean, just 'cause there's cars there, I have family and I got friends.
I understand what you're saying, but we can't sit over there and watch him.
It costs $1 or $2, but I'll get a lawyer and we'll get all the covenants taken care of. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments? Sandra?
I have a comment.
Oh, Sandra?
Yes,
Whoops.
that's right.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. No, go
I
ahead.
didn't know
you had, go ahead. That's, no, go ahead.
All right, well, I'm Rena Berry, I live at 31 Buckham Street in Camp Falls. And as you know, I wrote a letter to the town council and copied Zach. And I have an issue with all these codes that we have and zoning laws and nothing against you, Mike. I don't have any problem with you and your wife and whatever. I don't know, I have nothing, I don't know what's going on at your house, but I don't like it that we're paying money for a code enforcement officer to do a job, and it doesn't appear that it's being done. I hear it from my neighbors, friends, people in town, because I work in the hardware store, a lot of things are not being taken care of. Why do we have charters with laws, rules, zoning laws? Hire and pay a code enforcement officer to enforce these rules if we're gonna ignore them. I mean, I understand where Mr. Boyd's coming from, 20-something years. And he's been told that this particular piece of land isn't supposed to be for this, and Buckingham Street where I live, the same thing's going on. Not the same thing, I'm sorry, but there's a man at North Buckingham Street on the other, where I live, on the other end. And he's been adding on shack after shack, Nick knows about this, and he's stripped out cars, he's had metal scrapping, you might as well say business. He doesn't have a handkerchief for a piece of land between Main Street and Buckingham Street. He doesn't have enough land to do that for a business, and everyone knows it, but it just keeps getting ignored and ignored and ignored. And the poor neighbors that have to look at his junkyard, I mean, it is a mess there. And he's put up this fence all the way around the corner. I don't know if you've ever been down around that end of Buckingham Street, which is a hazard. There was a bad accident there last July, and we didn't happen to be home, we were on vacation, but they had to life flight people out of there. And My husband says he can see why it happened, because there is a blind spot there. If you stop right where the stop line is on Buckingham Street to take a left onto Main Street, you cannot see because that fence is in the way, so.
So you're saying that the fence is illegal? You
No, I'm not saying-
that
no,
he's
no.
encroaching on
It's
somebody else's
not
land?
it's not
Oh.
illegal. No,
Okay.
the town approved it,
Okay,
so, you know, I'm just saying it's not a good idea to have it.
but if he met the setbacks and everything, how can we say, that's a bad idea, don't put it up there?
Drive down there and stop at the stop.
I'm not
stop line.
disagreeing with you, but it's
I'm just
all
saying,
about legality.
Someone's
whether
gonna
it's
die
legal or
there,
not.
that's all.
Yeah.
But no, but back to the point of, why do we have to have a code enforcement officer? We're obviously not gonna hold up these laws and rules, and we're paying someone $40,000 a year to be a code enforcement officer, and he's just saying, I don't need to, I mean, the trailer that went in next to my brother-in-law's house on Riverside, nothing was done right over there, nothing. And it was 3 strikes against it to start with. It was a non-conforming piece of land, it was in a floodplain, it was shoreland zoning, all these things. And he didn't even go to the planning board with it. Fred, I'm talking, he didn't even go to the planning board with any of this. And when my brother-in-law asked him why, he said, I didn't have to. And that septic was put in the ground and covered up before, I don't even know if he has the variance for that to begin with, because it didn't have the setbacks. You're supposed to have 75 feet from the stream of water, and he only had 63 feet. And that's why the engineer had said, you need to get, he wrote it, I have a copy of the paper. Need to have a variance for this. And it was covered up in October of 2017, and in January, I think 24th, when I asked him for that variance again, he said, oh, I sent that into the state, I don't have it. And I said, well, you must have a copy. No, I don't have a copy, I sent it all into the state. And I called the state, no, not how it works. So, it was, yeah, you got the letter, you know, there was a lot of things that wasn't done right over there. So anyway, I'm just saying, why do we even, a lot of towns don't have code enforcement officers. I think we could use that money, if we're not gonna enforce the laws and we're gonna say, oh, well, we can't be there every minute to look and see what they're doing. Why don't we just not pay the 40, use it for something better? That's what I'm saying, you know, we don't need a code enforcement officer. That's my opinion, from what I've seen.
If I can respond real quick, since your letter, I've gone back and redone a lot of that research on that specific property, One Riverside Drive. And I've pulled the DEP, the FEMA side of it for the permits, and I've got a list of information and provided to the council as well, so we kind of knew more of the backstory because I had to research it myself. And everything that we've found and that I've been able to dig up, we've had all of the permits, and that specific site was done the way that it should have been to re-permit that house to be able to go back on that site after it was removed. On the Buckingham Street side itself, we do have stuff going on. Mr. Boyd's concerns as well. We and code enforcement did send a cease and desist letter after concerns as recent as April to Mr. Killinan, and then that's our ability to continue moving these things forward and using the citation process. Buckingham Street as well as another one that there was a citizen complaint within the past 30, 40 days that we did review, and I reviewed with code enforcement as well, and sent a corrective action to the person that someone pointed out. They have a building, a structure, an unregistered vehicle installed too close to the road, and we are moving these things forward, but we do have to follow our process. And you're right, at some point in time it gets to the point where it costs a lot of money for the town to be able to actually enforce it. If people won't move the structure, if people will not comply, the council's last legal action is to authorize court action, which is just money to attorneys. So it's kind of that happy median of balancing enforcement and the checkbook, I guess.
So
We
then,
could
if
spend-
everyone's gonna do what they wanna do because you don't wanna spend money on court, why have a code enforcement officer?
Not everybody does what they do. Most people do comply. And it's that smaller side of it. And you're right, it's there's still, you know, private property rights issues that we try and balance as well, as that we're not being over intrusive either. And there's a lot of complaints and concerns and letters and health responses and even evictions that we've done in the past 12 months on houses that were unsuitable, they were unmaintained. It's just stuff that people don't see. But we do appreciate it. Please keep telling us and we'll investigate it. And with some of these concerns, they've turned into things that we've had to readdress. And we're constantly going through when things come up and are brought to our attention, we'll revisit it and see.
Well, you know what, all the junk on 15 Main Street on the side of the street that I talked about in the letter, downtown across from Cumberland Farms, right next to the old Methodist church. I mean, there was loads of junk. It's been cleaned up a little bit now, but there was a couch, there was.
It took a couple of letters and a couple of door knocks and I believe
But you
Judy
know
might
what,
have been involved.
Fred told the person, and I know this firsthand, because the lady was in the hardware store complaining, one of the neighbors, and she said, Fred told her to take pictures. Is that her job? When you complain to the code enforcement officer about something like that, should he tell her to go take pictures? And then I found out another neighbor over there across the street complained about it, and he told her the same thing, to take pictures.
So there was some complaints about other issues with that same resident, and I personally spoke with that person. I also sent a letter from the town regarding some dog issues. And I can tell you, I did not say you have to take pictures, but I did say without any evidence, without hard evidence of being able to tell that it's this person's dog that's doing this, you know, there's not really a whole lot that the town can do. So sometimes, and I'm not saying it's this definite case, I don't know that you're exactly talking about the same person, but sometimes the way that things are received may not be the way that we intend them to be. And so there's a lot of talk around town, and sometimes it's not always 100% accurate.
And this was a dog hatchery.
This was
The animal
the
control officer.
defecation.
Well, with this particular house, you just drive up Main Street and you can see the junk.
Sure.
Some
But
of
the
it's-
couch is gone. I don't know if somebody bought it or if they put it in, but it's gone.
Because we extended the transportation
Yeah,
hours.
so much other stuff is
Yes,
taking
we
its
had
place.
Thursday.
That's too bad because it's getting rid of some of it.
I know.
Put a sale now.
Anyway, okay. But as far as the Riverside thing, he did not have that permit until many months after. If he's got it now, I'll take your word he has it, but he didn't have it 6 months after the fact when the septic was covered up in the ground.
And I do know within that one I pulled, there's a memo in the file from the previous code enforcement officer going on record stating that they accidentally misinformed the neighbors of the ability to rebuild or how it may happen, and it was pointed out to them after that they were wrong. So at that point in time, no, different file. But at that point in time, the previous code enforcement officer noted their own mistake, put it in the file that they misinformed, and I believe it was you when you came in at some point. I'd have to check the file,
Well,
but it was in
I
a
was,
letter.
I was down here 3 times anyway, and in January was the last time of 2018, 24th, and I asked him, because we had a meeting with Corrine Lowe and him, my brother-in-law was here, and I asked him for it, and he said, well, he sent it all into the state, he didn't have it. So I don't believe he.
He's talking about the previous code enforcement officer, Lester.
I'm talking what?
That's what he's talking about,
Lester.
Lester, the previous code enforcement officer.
Previous one, Lester.
That's what he's talking about.
Oh,
That
you're
put
talking
in
about
his-
Les? Oh.
He put in his file that he gave the wrong information.
Oh, well, you know what? The first time I came down, Les said that he was the one that told the first buyer that Vada Levitt had for the property in 2016 that you had to follow the footprint of the property. That's right. And he had conferred with John Hawley, though. He said I had talked with John Hawley first, and John Hawley said, yes, that's true. And I believed him because John Hawley had told other people the same thing when he was code enforcement officer. And my friend Vada Levitt, who owns that property, had owned it, she also agreed that's what happened. And so somewhere I asked Fred, I said, when did that change anyway? When did that change that you don't have to follow the same footprint on a non-conforming lot? And he said, he thought it happened around 2013, but he wasn't sure.
Planning board may know more than I do on the date side of it, but I know that it
But-
just cannot be more non-conforming.
Another thing too, when, like, the Leverts owned the property in back that's still there, you know, where they burned, I don't know, you weren't here, but they burned their house down. So they owned all of that. That's a big piece of land, follows the river. I thought if you owned a piece of property, it was all in one name, and you have a non-conforming lot also, I thought you'd have to join them together somehow to
I
make it
don't know if you
conform.
can be compelled to join properties. I'm not positive.
If you have two,
If you have two
if
abutting.
you have two non-conforming lots,
No, one
and they're in the
was,
same name, but both of them have to be non-conforming, and you have a deed with the same exact name of both of them, they can be compelled to make it one lot. But both have to be non-conforming.
really?
Like up on Sunnyside, people own 66 feet, 66 feet, 66 feet, and when it got changed to 100 feet, people that didn't change, add the wife's name to the deed or take the wife's name off the adjoining piece of property, they could be forced to hook those two properties together. That's how it always was. I don't know now if that's the way it is, but that's the way it always was in the old days.
But since they own this, the big piece too.
But they had a conforming lot
Yeah,
and a non-conforming lot. You gotta have two non-conforming lots to be forced.
that isn't the way I read it in the state of Maine thing, but, I could have read it
Okay.
wrong, but I'm surprised that they didn't, you know,
Yeah.
do that, make it all, kind of take it out of one to make it conforming before, because I have a thing in here that says the whole idea is not to make something more non-conforming. They want to get rid of non-conforming lots, and they want to do away with them. They don't want to keep them going and making them.
Right. I don't know the particulars of
So,
those lots over there.
I just feel Fred should have taken it to the planning board, at least, at the very least, because there were so many issues over there. Anyway. And the other thing is, he told me in the very beginning when I talked with him, the first time I talked with him about it, and I honestly didn't know the town had the authority to approve it. And I said, who would ever approve a septic system going in over there so close to my brother-in-law's old cellar foundation? When there's a bad flood year and Riverside goes, I've seen it go around that house many times, across the street and around his whole foundation. I said, who would ever approve that? And he actually said to me, with his hands up in the air, that was my thought too. I don't know, it wasn't the town. He said the town had nothing to do with that. The state approved that.
DEP approved that one. And it was also because we have a town water line cutting across, it was going under the previously existing house, so there was other extra
Yeah,
unique
but as far as
circumstances going on.
approving it,
But they must
he'd
have
already
met this.
signed off on it before, a few days before I was in
Right.
here.
They
So
must have
why
met the
did he
setback, though.
mislead me on that?
They must have met the setback.
No, he meant the septic, Wayne. He
No,
knew
it
it.
said met
The
the
set,
setback. He must have met the setback.
No, they had to have the variance because the septic was short a few feet. It had to be 75 feet back, and they were only 63.
Okay, he must have met the setback of your brother-in-law's property. 10 foot, 5 foot, 12 feet, whatever the setback is. When you build a structure, you need to meet the setback of your people that are around you. Like in downtown, it's 10 foot for the,
Oh, you mean from his foundation?
Yeah, the setback.
Well, yeah.
so he must have met that.
Away from the foundation?
Whatever the setback was, he must have
10
met
feet or
that.
something from the property.
Yeah, so he must
line.
be, it must be further than that.
Well, probably, yeah, a few, not far, but whatever. I don't know what that was.
Because I don't believe they would have let him put it in closer than what our setback is.
I don't know, I never heard what the setback was for that. But from the river, from the overflow there, Riverside, they were supposed to be 75 feet back, and they only had 63 feet. And that's why the engineer said they needed a variance. which they didn't get, they covered it up and everything, and they still didn't have it 3 months
They
later.
did get approval from FEMA on that site. And I think that is probably what you might have been referring to. And then the application was approved at the state level. And their subsurface design was at the state level.
Yeah, well, he approved it, because the town's the one that approves it. But he told me the state did.
The state did this one. I've got the state seal on the plan, and I think it was probably because it was in that FEMA shoreline that they needed someone else to approve it above and beyond, I believe, at that point in time. Because of where it is and so close to the water, FEMA had to get involved to classify the property, and then the state actually had to approve it through the DEP. just
What's the
for that.
date on the state?
State seal is 12/23/16.
Oh, that's when you sold the land to Dargy and the engineer had written up the, the design for the septic. That's not the building.
No, but it was approved to that landowner at that, the design was approved. Yeah, 12/29/16 was signed off on. That's CDC. Subsurface wastewater disposal system variance request from the CDC was approved on 12/29/16.
Is that documentation you can get to her so she can
Yep.
see that it was,
Yeah.
how it was done?
I can do that, it's the same PDF that I compiled.
Okay, thank you.
It's a request.
Sandra?
Does it say variance request? So-
I'll send you the packet after.
Sandra?
I just have 2 quick questions. Oh, Sandra Ballard, 24 Cliff Street. Does the Legion or does the town own the Veterans Park? I asked the past commander and he does not believe that. I'm just curious because people ask.
The town owns it.
The town owns it.
I looked through the documentation, it looks like there was an ordinance signed for the acceptance of the land by the town as town property, and then the same day, they signed an ordinance to allow the American Legion to replace the monument, but the land itself is still owned by the
But
town.
the Legion owns the monuments.
We okayed them to replace it,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming.
Because one of them is getting
But the
pretty
town owns
bad.
the land.
One of them is getting pretty bad.
One of the monuments?
Yes. And I have another question. Up where I live, there's a cemetery, and it's got, like slabs holding the land there, I guess. And there's a tree root coming out on one, and to me, it looks kind of dangerous. I just wondered if there's some way to get it fixed.
Who owns the cemetery?
Yeah, who owns that?
Town
Do
does.
we own it?
It's on, before you get to Sunnyside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who owns that one.
I was just curious
I
because
think it's the town, because Dad used to mow it all the time.
Was it that Sandra?
Town of what?
Ken
My
Cross.
grandmother's.
No.
Yes.
The town owns that?
No, I don't believe the town owns that cemetery.
the town mows it now.
Well,
I was just curious
It's an
who
old
owned
something.
it.
That's right. The town, I'm pretty positive owns that cemetery, Freedom Cemetery, and then the one behind it.
Oh, really?
It's signed
Yeah.
over.
it was signed over to the
We had to
town.
research it recently, and the plots that we were
Oh.
looking at had to be signed over to the town.
Chandler.
Because-
has the deeds.
Chandler has the deed, yes.
Because the people who owned it didn't take care of it.
I don't know why.
Because I was at that garage for 3 or 4 years, and the town never had anything to do with that cemetery when I was at that garage.
No, Dick used to do it, but the town told him he couldn't do it anymore. He
Right.
used to
No,
plow.
I'm saying when I was at that garage for
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, the town never had anything to do with that cemetery, ever.
I was just curious because it looks kind of bad.
I always thought it was privately owned, just like the one down on
We can look
the
at
Heman's
the
picture of it.
We can look into it further.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm talking about, Zach. You used to live there. You see that tree root sticking out, holding
And
it up.
we're just going through it. My grandmother's going into that cemetery
Right.
when she goes,
It-
and we're
it-
doing the research.
It just looks kind of dangerous to me, though.
It does, and that
Well, I hope we
cemetery's
don't
gotten
want it.
smaller over the years.
It seems like it, yeah.
It's
Where
I
and
don't want to
where?
own a cemetery.
It's been
The town. Liability.
They're usually maintained by,
Really?
like Lucille, right, Lucille Miller
What she's
takes
talking about,
care
you gotta
of
build
the.
walls, you gotta maintain it. Something happens, it caves in, you're
Well,
responsible.
during
You're
the parade,
responsible
you've
for
got kids sitting
cemetery
on
if you
those
want.
granite slabs too, which
Don't get anything.
we'll look
I
at
really
it as
didn't.
well.
So you let us know. Okay.
Thank you.
Penny?
I just have my same old question. Yes, Penny Emery, 46 Clifford Street. I want to know what's going on with the white elephant up in the square.
We put it
We
in
got
your
any
name.
answers yet?
We put it in your name.
Oh, good, oh, thank you. I'm not paying taxes on it. I'm gonna sell it.
Well, that's all we're gonna do, we're gonna sell it.
Okay, that's what I want to know. I'm just waiting to get the word.
We decided at the end of our last meeting that the town voted for $724,500.
Yeah, something like that.
But that included, that should be the purchase, the renovations, and what we owe on this building.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent it out to an architect, put everybody in there to redo it the way we need it set up. It came out to 700 something, right? Without us repaying the current debt on this.
Oh, okay. Right.
So we sent it back, and we said, well, what if we just put the library and the town office in there? And we were gonna try to look for something here,
Mm-hmm.
in this space. And when they came back with that from the architects, we didn't have a price yet, but it was gonna cost $14,000 just to adjust 2 exits to the architecture.
Oh,
my word.
So we decided at that point that it's not the right thing to do. So we are,
thank you, yes, thank you.
we are going to sell it, and that might be on the agenda. I'm not sure that that discussion will finish tonight, because
Okay,
there's
yeah.
some things that we have
Yeah.
to discuss. But we are looking for real estate agents. I'm not one of them.
Right.
Um,
You got one across the street. She just moved in, and he did whatever.
Well, we want
I'm
someone
just kidding, I'm
with
just kidding.
commercial experience.
Yeah.
We had asked Zach to look for some brokers that are more into that size building.
Okay.
You know, not your just small commercial.
Yes.
So that's another discussion, but that's
Yeah.
where we're at. Is that,
Thank
are you
you,
good with that?
thank you. I won't have to ask that again.
Thank you.
No, you will if you don't see the sign.
No, well, that's, hold up there. Yeah.
Don Webster, how much did we pay for that building?
We signed the contract for 300, I think it was 300, and then we had someone do kind of an inspection, a contractor, and they looked at the roof and they felt that there was some work that needed to be done on the roof. So they deducted 16,000, I think, 16,000. After we closed, we found out we had some issues on the line with Napa. So that was 20,000 to repair that. So, and then if we added any additional costs with the architect, we would owe on top of that, which would,
I think
how
we're
much was
into,
that?
we're into it for like 343.
343 is the roughly
Yeah.
total number all in.
343 we're
You
into.
think we're gonna be able to recoup our money out of it, or?
We should be able to.
We're gonna find out
We'll
from
try, yeah.
professional real estate people.
Yeah.
Kathy, John Emery, 65 Water Street. Can you tell us where that money will go if we do sell the building? Does it just go back into a general fund, or is it? It's not
Well,
going.
we-
It's not
okay.
going to pursue
No.
another town office.
We have a loan now for the building, so that has to get paid. If we make any money, I guess does that have
I
to go?
think we can earmark,
We can earmark it?
We can request it to be earmarked, it would be approved by voters, but yes.
Earmark, if there was a substantial amount, earmark it towards a new town hall.
Would you put it to the voter like Zach just?
Yep. To earmark it. If they say no, then it goes in the general fund.
So that's what we're looking at now, like if we get rid of that building and go on forward and build what we actually need and want.
That's the vision I have.
So we need to have a research committee, and I would like to be some of the people in the town that maybe have some skills on putting it all together.
That's what you need, somebody that knows what they're doing. Building,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
I
on
wouldn't be a
I
good
think you're on the
I
right
think that
track.
would be done right on our property right
I
here.
said I would be good, because.
Yeah, because I didn't think that was a good idea trying to sell this building, because you sell a half an acre out of a 10-acre lot or whatever you got here, you'll never get
But it
there.
was all about money.
I hear you all.
It was all about money.
A lot of you guys are all different up here now than it was back when it all got started, so.
So if anyone wants to be on a committee, just, Zach, I'm sure we'll be setting something up in the near future.
Yes, hi, hello, TJ Thayer, 6 Lane Road, Mechanic Falls. I just wanted to make myself known and available for the city council. I'm a medical marijuana business owner in Auburn, even though I'm a resident of Mechanic Falls. And I know since the town has some upcoming rule changes, proposals, and a vote coming up on our medical marijuana ordinance, I wanted to make it known to the council and to the town that I can be an asset for any kind of information as to current law. I've been working very closely over the last 6 months or so with the city of Auburn, helping them to opt in, as we say, as pass their pro-cannabis ordinance, so that business owners like myself can continue to operate and actually grow and expand and serve a larger population. As you may or may not know, the state of Maine did pass recreational marijuana a couple years ago, and they've been working behind the scenes in the State House to develop their language, and that language had just been revealed about 6 weeks ago as to what recreational cannabis will look like and those laws. And I know there's a few business owners besides myself that are looking to move their businesses into this area. And I wanted to make myself available and to help answer any questions you guys may have. I know Zach and I have been in close communication over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, anything I can do to help us kind of opt in and, you know, make it so that Mechanic Falls can receive some of the benefits from this cannabis windfall that's about to come. There are a couple laws in the State House right now, soon to be voted on, that will help bring many of the sales taxes from the sale of these marijuana products and then bring them back into the local towns and everything. So I really foresee that being a great windfall for the city of Mechanic Falls if we prove to opt in and pass our pro-cannabis ordinance.
You got a card, Mr. Ware?
I will, yeah, I'll give it to you right after the meeting.
Thank you.
Sell the medical building. We'll name it after him.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm looking to open my business here. We have a couple of pieces of property are picked out, and we've been working with Fred Collins quite closely. I'm trying to get our land use permits, and everything seems to be a go for us. I mean, we have the investors ready to rock and roll. It's just that we're waiting on the town now. So we have to wait for us to, you know, go through the vote, hopefully pass it, opt in, and then go through the language and make sure we can comply fully moving forward.
Are you looking to process or?
No, we are not going to be processing on site. So no class 1 div 1 explosion proof buildings or anything like that. Just particularly cultivation and dispensary retail. So yeah.
Medical buildings for you then.
Sure.
Right
Yeah.
there. Good location.
Okay, we're beyond our 30 minutes of public comments, so we're gonna go to the old business foreclosure agreements.
I have a question though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Martha Yates, 285 Lewiston. I'd like to know why the town reports aren't out. So that means we're gonna be voting blindly when we go to vote next week?
The town report doesn't have any information about the vote in it.
It tells what last year's was, so we
Oh,
can be
yes, it
prepared
does.
what
Okay.
you're gonna spend this year?
I proofed it today for the printer to go ahead and print it, and they told me it would be a week, so we should have them actually Monday, which most people aren't gonna have them in time. I can absolutely give you.
Why was it so late?
I didn't get the information from people that I was supposed to be getting, tried to chase down letters from different departments, had a lot on my plate, and finally got it done last week. Additional election in there, yep.
Well, I still find that's inexcusable for us to have to vote on that being so late.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can absolutely blow up and post the, election day, the last year's figures so that you can look at them, before you go in to vote.
Can you put
Well,
that
I'm legally
online?
blind, so I'm not gonna stand there in front of that board all day reading it. When I can read it at home under my own light.
Is there a way for you to get a copy for her tonight to take home?
It's not fair to everybody else,
Can you put it online?
not just for me.
We can get the digital
Put it
one.
on the town site?
Our website?
So when will it be there?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning?
Because I think more people usually use now, instead of the newspaper, which are very few people now buying it, that
I
they
buy
use
it.
it.
I buy it.
Well, I
Yes,
do
that's
too,
my
but you know,
favorite.
we're old, we buy the paper.
So it will be online tomorrow on the town website? Okay.
Okay, now I was gonna ask another question, but now I can't remember what it was. I'll think of it.
Okay. Foreclosures?
I have the same packet and information for those 4 properties that we spoke of last month, updated with the numbers that we put forward last month. We tabled this one to bring it back. The only change since last month is what we were speaking of with the property that was bank-owned because of the short date on the check. They sent the sub-payment, we returned the payment because it wasn't enough to clear it. We were not gonna take a partial payment because that would have insinuated a payment plan. So from the 2 that you had originally looked to set minimum bids for, you could potentially add on to the bank-owned one if you would want the one on South Main.
So, what, I thought what we had discussed was that, like on 60 Brookline, the thing you have here is $4,050.
Yep.
I thought that we discussed that, we thought that, and I think we asked, can we sell it for more than?
Yes, and you can.
And I think I asked that I wanted to see that, because I never thought we could. I want to see that. I want to see on paper or on a screen where a state statute or something says that we can sell it for more than.
Did you get my email the day after the last meeting? Had the MMA packet on disposal of the property as well as the town's, policy on how we do it. So the state says, yes, there is a way the municipalities can, but they're not obligated to refund any overage proceeds back to the previous owner that it was foreclosed on. The only recent change would be for the seniors program, which is people 65 and over, which none of this qualifies. Those were the more recent changes that required it. Did others get that email?
Yeah, I got it.
You did?
I saw that, it's right here, yeah.
So the date is May 7th.
5/7.
You got May 7th.
No, I didn't get it.
I guess my only question is, why have we done it so many years for what the taxes owed? If we could do it a different way.
It's the MMA suggested is to sell it for the outstanding back taxes and any expenses incurred with it. That's just what they recommend, that's what our policy recommends, so that's the way it's built, but the council sets the ultimate minimum bid number, so you can set the minimum bid where you want it to.
And nobody can come back and say, hey.
Nope.
would be in the town's best interest to sell it for the maximum amount you can get to go into their bank accounts.
Yes.
I'll forward it again to you right now, just in case. So this was built on the recommended policy, so if we can do what we did last time, set the numbers on the 2 or 3 properties.
So I guess, it would be nice to have someone tell us what they think it's worth, and then do a less number. It would be nice to have an opinion of value.
Under the newly modified, because it's tax acquired, it's a separate process. I can solicit letters for us to do it instead of minimum bid that way. Currently, the changes that we have to allow the non-tax acquired properties to be sold, that policy was updated so that we can use a realtor through this process on non-tax acquired property. Tax acquired property still operates under a standalone policy. So we can, if you want me to hold off, I can.
So we could actually ask a realtor to go look at it, ask 5 of them, without doing an RFP or whatever, just go look at this property and give us what you think we should sell it for. And then we can pick someone to put their for sale sign on.
We'd have to change the disposal of tax acquired property policy if we want to do that, but those policies can be changed as well.
Well, that property on Brookline is worth a lot more than $4,000.
What about the other one?
Clifford Street?
Clifford Street. has a
I
town.
haven't been in that one.
We're changing it.
Probably don't want to either.
Probably little critters living in there.
What did we say we were gonna sell that for?
Clifford? 5225 is the minimum bid. And again, they're sealed bids, so that's really just our threshold of minimum bids. They're all sealed bids and we follow our process, and I will double check.
That's still cheap.
Date process.
Yes, but
It's sight unseen.
Even if the house is junk, the
I know.
land is,
They have sump pumps all up and down that side, and there hasn't been a sump pump running there for a lot of years.
I'm sure it's probably mold, it
Yeah, I
probably needs
bet.
to be torn off.
And the roof must leak because the top they had on it's all brick now, so it's not causing the water to stay out, it's going in. Yeah, but I'm sure it's worth more than that. Be a cute little house, yeah. It's one right in the Fifth Avenue, the packages.
Okay.
What do you guys wanna do?
She hasn't been there over 10 years. Just been set.
Steve?
The easiest thing is just up the minimum bid. That's the easiest thing.
Yeah, it's the
On
easiest
60
thing.
Brookline, up it to a number that.
8. I don't know, I haven't
It's
seen it.
assessed at, drive by, it's got a garage, it's on leased land, but it's the assessed value, it looks like it's in really good shape, it's like $45,000.
I would think twice about putting the minimum bid at like 15 dollars. Yeah,
That's still cheap.
and that's still
Still
cheap,
go
but
20,
but you
25.
might get somebody that bids $22,000.
Well, yeah, if we got a minimum bid of 15, they, somebody's.
And we don't have to accept it, by the way.
Yeah,
That's a rule, we can reject all bids. But what do you think, put it for 15, 16, 5, something like that?
Kathy, you said it's on lease where?
Yes, it's like a trailer park,
Oh,
It's just a row.
only they're
setting.
big lots. They,
It's nice.
like the one
Nice
down,
area.
before you get to Hackett Mills on the right, Sandy Lane that goes in there.
yeah.
Those people all rent from the Duns, but they get like a 200 by 200 lot.
so do we want to look at the minimum bids for all of these, or just the Brookline Drive?
The only other one I'd consider now to add to it is the South Main Street bank-owned property. It was a foreclosed property, so the bank owns it, the owners are out of the picture. But the banks themselves are going through foreclosure because of that process. We had filed our foreclosure before the bank and the mortgage company went into bankruptcy. We had to wait an extra 60 days, we're through that whole rescission process anyway, so.
Which one is that? Which one is that?
South Main Street.
It's a big double wide with the
double
garage.
wide.
Across from Boyd's.
Oh, the one with the big
His
garage.
grandmother.
Leonard's place.
Yeah, Leonard, Dave Leonard's place, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
How
I
much
have
is that?
Lots of people calling me about that property.
How much,
Because
what's the price on
I
that?
think we've had a ton here.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with
Outstanding
this?
at
It's been empty.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No, that's,
You could get
that's.
probably at least 85,000
I
for that
was gonna say,
property.
that's an
100.
easy $50,000, $60,000.
No,
Easy.
What is that?
Easy.
So what, do we want to make, how do we want to do this? Do we need to make a motion?
Okay, just let me know the numbers and then I'll fill in the numbers and you can make a motion.
What do you want the numbers on? If you think that one at 293 is, we could get 50, why not?
Make a bid of 50.
Minimum bid of 50.
Maybe somebody will
Of
bid
what?
70
Yeah.
on South Main Street.
Of 50?
Minimum.
Okay, minimum, but, yeah,
Like I
okay.
said, we don't have to.
All right.
And then for Brookline Drive, that was the,
I'd say 16.5 minimum.
and then the other two, we're gonna leave.
One is still owner occupied and one.
Isn't the idea to put it up high and then decorate
No,
them and?
no, not on
No?
bids. No.
Not on
You
that?
try to get people to bid and then they're saying, all right, somebody will bid
Oh.
16,800, so I'll bid 17,500. Oh, maybe I'll bid 19,000 because I want. Or maybe I'll bid 21,000 because I
Right.
want.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not like selling a house with
Right.
real estate.
Oh, okay.
If you get
South Main Street is 50.
choice to reject all the bids,
Right.
you're just gonna discourage the public from bidding on this stuff. You're gonna have less bidders next time if you.
We've always been able to reject all of them, but that's how it's written.
I would
Every
think
town
that-
is that way.
I would think that'd be a bad process,
Wow.
bad practice to.
We seem to get bids
Yeah.
on any piece of town thing we have. Cars, trucks,
Yeah.
we put it out to bid, we'll get 8, 10 bids from people.
Yeah, but
And sometimes they surprise me. The one guy will be 25% higher than everybody else.
yeah.
Everybody else is about the same number.
Yeah.
I know you
I
would.
don't, yeah, I think I know which one that is, and I don't think anybody would pay a lot for that.
Which one?
Is that Clifford Street? If that house is ready to cave in.
10 grand.
But it's a
10
lot.
grand. Yeah, it's a
With water
lot,
and
yeah.
sewer.
10 grand?
Yeah, 10 grand. Hey, we'll learn our lesson if nobody bids.
They're off the tax roll for the year anyway, so we could do this a couple
So
of
10
times.
on Clifford Street, 16.5 on
Brookline.
Brookline, 50 on South
50,000
Main.
on South Main Street.
That it?
With that as a motion, we've updated the.
Are you all in agreement of that?
Do we need to make a motion?
I don't.
So
I'll make a motion that we set minimum bids for tax acquired properties. The one at 289 Main Street, 50,000 minimum bid. Brookline Drive, 16,500 minimum bid, and 17 Clifford, 10,000 minimum bid. And the North Main Street,
we have that.
We have a workout.
oh, that's right, that's something they gotta.
16. 60.
Anyone second it?
I'll take it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
You can circulate that and also initial where we.
I didn't see anything like in this Brookline Drive. I must be missing it. I didn't see anything in here about how much they have to give the town.
I had someone ask me today.
And I didn't see anything about, they got like 10 days or 30 days.
Right, I was
I don't
just
see
gonna say,
anything in
someone
here.
asked me today what the process is
Yeah.
for a bid, and I was able
It's
to
usually
explain how it
10%.
works, but I didn't know
Oh,
You gotta put up 10% with your bid.
within,
No,
Oh, with
no,
the
with your
bid?
bid.
With the
You
bid.
gotta put up 10%.
With
And-
bid,
And then you've got, normally, I think,
I thought it was 30.
30 days you have to pay the rest of it. And the check has to be a bank
Bank
check,
check.
not a personal check.
I thought it was 30 days as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't see that in this wording.
On the write-up, there was the two for the original ones we were gonna do, and we used the same language. That one is the trailer park, but it does say the same thing, because part of our process is, certain time, we open it out.
Wayne, what happens if they don't come through with that money in the 30 days?
They lose their
They lose the
deposit.
deposit.
That's the penalty.
And then does
They
it go
vote
to the
that
next
money
bidder
in.
down? Or
And
does
then
it
it
just
would-
start a whole new
Or,
process?
well, I don't know.
Depends
Maybe
on
we
what
want
we
to play
decide.
it.
It's in, where, oh, it's I believe it's 10%, but I'll double check the process.
No, just make sure that's in the wording, that's all.
We ready to move on? 7.2, Bad Bunker, consent agreement.
I forwarded the most recent version. I went back and forth with the town attorney on this, on language, a way to put this in a way that conflicts the least with the appeals board and planning board process. And the recent one that you have, 7.2, draft version 2, is whereas the original residence was more than 50% demolished by fire on April 9, 2011, whereas Article 5, Section 40 Mechanic Falls Land Use Code provides that in such a circumstance the structure can be reconstructed or replaced within 1 year of destruction with 2 one-year extensions provided for by the CEO as long as such reconstruction is in compliance with setback requirements to the largest extent practical as determined by the CEO, which is language from our land use code. Whereas the CEO has determined that the new proposed site location is less non-conforming than the original structure or footprint was. And whereas the town is satisfied that there is clear and convincing evidence that the illegality was the direct result of erroneous information or advice given by an authorized town official, and that there is no evidence that the owner violator acted in bad faith. And that is again language from our land use code. And the parties resolved to Section 2, complete as originally permitted by December 2019, and follow all of the other requirements within the building code and land use code, and failure to comply would still be enforceable. Yes, you do. And there is a letter from the attorney.
I read it.
We read that, and there was also the original one from MMA as well in last month's packet.
So we just need to make a motion if we're going to accept this, right?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to accept the administrative consent agreement between James Badamoncor and Lori Badamoncor and the town of Mechanic Falls.
I have no problem with that, but according to Jack, do we have a right to do that?
Yeah.
That letter that he said?
Yeah.
Well, can you give me a little bit more than that?
You read the letter.
I did read the letter.
He didn't say you couldn't do it.
You didn't suggest it. Nothing personal. If this is on the up, we don't want to have to come back to you and say you can't put a house there. Okay, so you're confident with this?
I am.
Okay. We ready to make a motion on this?
I made a motion.
We need a
Excuse me,
second.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
We have to sign it, all
Circulate the original.
And your wife, so you can today if you want? Okay.
You have to excuse my suspicions, I bought a hospital building just down the road.
MMA audit response.
So, the formal audit process when they came through and looked at all of our facilities, we rectified most of the stuff on ours. We've worked with the 2 tenants that we had in the building. In the process, I was able to find the lease for the Fire Association building. So we do have that on file now, which will help in the process when we start talking about the roof replacement on that building as well. So within the front page, the actual responses, I need to actually go into our insurance provider by item, update our response, what we're gonna do or what we've already done to correct the issue. So these are those issues, and the responses we're taking. I've worked with the tenants, and they're okay with what we're doing and what we have to do. We're still working with the Born Aftercare program. PW is gonna work to help remove some of the extra stuff as well, take on equipment that is damaged and.
So we're all set on that?
Yep.
Do you have to make a motion? Or?
Yes, please, and I actually have the formal response to approve and then the 2 letters for the 2 tenants that were. So everything that is changed is signed.
Do you have a motion?
What is the motion for?
To approve the
Okay, to-
risk management service audit responses and sign the letters to the tenants.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the audit response letters.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. 7.4, property survey bids.
Wanted to start the conversation that we were having in PSAC for a little while. Now that we can more openly talk about not moving downtown and taking a bigger picture of what we have going on here, the thought process was to start with an actual boundary survey so we know, especially if we're looking at leaning towards some of the lines, to make sure that our new building is going to meet all our setback and code requirements, but we don't have those records in place. So we pulled some bids from some local surveyors, and they were all over the place, from $5,000 to $20,000.
So, Wayne, you thought that we already had partial surveys.
I thought Keith had done a ton of surveying around this building. I know he surveyed all of Lewiston Street, and he surveyed down here.
Keith is one of the ones that came in much.
I believe he's got a pin down here too, I think.
Well, they did the survey when they built the tennis court.
Right, I know that.
That whole boundary.
That whole boundary was done by Keith. Keith and Stewart, because Stewart worked.
And they
Right.
both.
I see they both.
They both put in.
I personally, until we get a better handle on if and when we're gonna build the town hall, we're already spending $190,000 more than we did last year. I just don't want to spend any money. I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but I just don't want to spend any more money. That's my opinion.
The only thing is, I'm not saying to spend money now, but someone told us that the church.
Nothing's been brought to the council about
I
it.
understand that, but just.
I heard scuttlebutt too, that the church wanted to do something over there, or put up a fence or whatever. And I guess if we're forced into something,
Right.
then I would think differently.
We'll do it
about
then.
But who knows, they may be another year or two before they decide.
Are you saying that if they put a fence up, we need to survey, or?
Why can't they do
Because I don't think that's quite how it works. I'm telling you, I own the land now.
Exactly.
If you want to prove me different, then go get it surveyed.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way it
I
works.
think we have something really
But-
closer on.
But I don't know if that's really even real over there at
Right.
the church.
Wayne, can you tell me the deal on that?
it's just hearsay that somebody said, they were talking about wanting to put a fence, or increase their parking lot or something, or put a fence up down here and out that way. Right beside the fire station. Right beside the fire station.
I think it's what we're concerned is that we're actually encroaching on church's property, where some of our PW guys park, where we push our snow, it's potentially on their property as well.
Have you talked to Dick?
Not about this.
No, this is all just scuttlebutt. And then I heard that some of the parking way at the other end that the church uses is actually town land.
Good day.
Yeah, so if nobody's gonna bring it up, I don't need to bring up and open up a can of worms and have to spend money.
Right.
Right.
When and if they send a letter or they come over and speak to him, then I'd probably address it differently. But just because of hearsay, I
Yeah,
don't.
but don't you think if you're gonna have to have this properly surveyed at one time or another, you could never get it done any cheaper than you can right today? Rather than wait another year or two, or whatever, the way inflation's going.
Well-
We don't really have any money for that, correct?
No, we don't, it's
We
not in
didn't
the
budget for
budget.
that.
And I also think that maybe if we are gonna have a survey, we should go talk to Dick and say, hey Dick, why don't we get our land surveyed
Yes,
together?
right.
I believe you'd work with you on that.
And I believe he would. All hearsay, it's all just,
Yeah.
so I just assume,
We do have CIP funds for facilities we could use, but you're right to the extent that if we're gonna go into potentially designing a new building, that would all
Right.
also be rolled into a loan package or
Right.
something for the new building at that.
and if somebody wants to reach out to Dick and say, we heard scuttlebutt about this, is that something you've been talking about? You wanna work together and hire a surveyor, maybe we can split the cost or something.
You want me to reach out to Dick?
Sure. Well, I shouldn't say that. If they want, if everybody else wants you to.
How come one can do it for 20 and another one for 5?
I'll reach out.
Because they've already surveyed it, so they already have some information?
That could be a big part of it.
Okay.
That's what I'm guessing.
Well,
And they may not have done this lot, but they might have done every single one around it, so then you have like elimination there. You already know what the boundaries are.
Actually, on that, if we gotta go.
So we'll just,
We're just gonna table
Table that.
the survey bids.
okay.
New business, the only thing that we really have, I've been working with the planning board and AvCog. As an agent contributor to AvCog, they can provide planning services for us as well. We've sat down code planning and their representatives and myself, and we're going to have a planning board training session put on by Shelley Norton, the AvCog planner, as well as Joan Walton, who's their DOT certified. No, it's on Wednesday. But they are going to be holding a training on 6/19, 6/30. It'd be great if anybody wants to go as well.
Here.
Yes. And we'll be getting kind of an overview on norms and really the way boards operate as well as some of the services they provide too. If we get extra services that come with our membership in AvCog that we may not have been utilizing, they can do third-party reviews of commercial development plans, or there's other options they can spell out for us so we can get the most out of our membership to AvCog.
So is it more than just you two running for council? Is it more than two?
Ray or something.
yeah, Ray LaVoy.
Oh, Ray
Ray
LaVoy,
LaVoy.
okay. I was just gonna say, 6/19, that'd be a good time for, if one of you two win, to join
Well, and that's why we planned it.
join the
with
crowd,
the
because it'll be the
council.
17th that you'll come to a meeting. If one of you win, it'll be June 17th.
I'll see you the 17th.
So who is running?
Tarsha.
Myself.
Tasha,
Devitt.
John. Henry.
John Emery, and
Ray
Ray
LaVoy.
LaVoy.
Okay. This lady here?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Next one is the Riverside Drive response. I think we have had that conversation. I don't know if you want me to formalize it. I can put out the letter and the information packet that I've compiled for research. The letter was to the council, so I wanted to take it to them and have them review it if they wanted to read it.
I think we've had the conversation and you're gonna send her everything so she can see how it was done. Okay, I think we're all good with that. 9.2, appoint elections clerks.
Okay, so we have another election coming up next week. As with every election, we have to have clerks appointed each time. We can't just appoint them for the year. So I was asking for Nancy Peterson as warden, Michelle and Allison Emery, and Jackie Preston. Michelle and Allison will be my primary clerks. I'm only adding Jackie in here if we decide we need her. I've got to look at, well, I don't think we're going to have the turnout to need that additional person. I've only had like 5 absentee requests. So I believe it will just be Nancy, Michelle, and Allison. It would be nice to have Jackie approved if one of them was sick or something like that, but I don't think we're going to need an additional clerk.
I'll make a motion to approve all 4 of them if you need, Jackie.
I'll second it. Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
8 to 8.
Unanimous?
8 to 8 in the gym.
Downstairs. We are moving the senior social hour to that morning on a Tuesday instead of Wednesday as well. We're getting more people showing up to that, so we'll run that on a Tuesday. The senior air crew active in retirement has kind of a game time for a couple hours in this room every Wednesday morning. That's sponsored by Hannaford, but we're going to move it to Tuesday so they can do it when they come to vote as well. Try and get more people engaged.
9.3, PDG contract renewal.
I was thinking.
So you have, what I sent to you was the original. I do have the one back from Jack that was just changing the statutory language to those 2 numbers. So I have that version.
So it's the updated version.
Yes. And we can entertain that, or if you want to talk about it, we can do that executive session.
I'll make a motion that we approve the police department's chief contract.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? No?
Thank you.
Raise your
Oh,
hand.
so sorry.
You're unanimous.
You stuck with us for a while longer.
The next one is the resolve on 22, but we have information that we may want to discuss that would be an executive session based on the RFP, so if you want to do that first, we would not need to do a resolve if we're not going to.
Yeah, I think you should do it in executive
Okay.
session.
So if you want to do that, then I think what we would be doing is moving up executive session 10.1 MRSA 4056C, and we need a motion to end.
I'll make a motion, we enter into executive session, Title 1, MRSA, Section 4056C.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
All those in favor of Steve serving the town well?
I get to vote on that?
So we're looking to table agenda item 9.4.
Make a motion for that.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous?
And we would be looking to schedule the next council meeting, the organizational meeting to elect officers, and I'll talk with you, Keith, to make sure we get input on what
That's going to be on June
liaison
17th at 5:30 p.m.
5:30 instead of 6.
5:30?
Yes.
Is the town invited to that?
Well, you can't stop them.
You can't stop.
Open meeting.
Every time we've had it, no one's ever showed.
Right.
That's why I asked, I didn't know.
Well, we have a lot more people that show up these days than
Well,
Then
ever
we have
before.
that's why I dress nice.
I appreciate that.
It's nothing really.
So, come here, motion to change that meeting to 5:30.
I seconded it.
All those in favor?
Unanimous.
343.
I make a motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Motion adjourned, second.
Steve, Wayne.
Wayne.
Eric,
Unanimous.
would you please put something in the newspaper about the Historical Society?